It all starts with having an economy that grows. And I think the United States and other countries have a continuing obligation to open our markets to more products produced in Africa, and at the same time to increase the capacity of Africa to produce more and different things, to maximize the impact of energy and other natural resources, and to try to get good model legislation there and train people to avoid the resource traps that have captured so many African countries, and to really dramatically improve the productivity of African farmers, because for smallholder farmers, what it takes to improve productivity is so inexpensive. And being able to feed yourself and having a level of food and energy independence will accelerate economic growth in other areas and open up opportunities to diversity which don't now exist. So yes, please seamlessly reauthorize AGOA. But in the process, let's remember what we've learned in the last 15 years about building capacity and diversifying economies. This has been a very good deal for America, and it's been a very good deal for our African partners. Some 40 of the 48 countries in sub-Saharan Africa are eligible for this. But let's not also forget that sub-Saharan Africa has 48 nations, and while it is true that 10 of the 20 fastest growing economies in the world last year were sub-Saharan countries, and several others not in that list are not in that list because they've been growing so fast before, there's still about half the countries, maybe a few more, who don't yet have the level of growth of which they are plainly capable if we can marry the incentives plus the capacity. So that's my take on this. I'm very proud that we did that so long ago. I think it is imperative to reauthorize it, but I think you are just beginning to see Africa's moment in the sun. I think the topsoil, the labor force, the innate ability, the energy resources that you see in Africa mean that the next decade will be better than the last if we deal with these few but profoundly important fundamental challenges. And the reauthorization process for AGOA is a great backdrop for the United States to do its part to do just that. I was in Ethiopia a couple of years ago, and they've done a lot of remarkable things in Ethiopia, but it's really quite a great farming country, which surprises people since they all think about that sliver of eastern Ethiopia that's part of the Horn of Africa and part of repeated famines. But they had a bumper crop. I was just out looking at some of our solar villages, and it was amazing the food that was there, but there was no storage and no transportation network. So what I would like to say is I think that the proper infrastructure to extend AGOA and to do intelligent aid is to try to help build the systems that will make Africa both more self-sufficient and more able to export, that will maximize the capacity of African countries to grow food and develop other resources, but do it in a way that maximizes employment and income within African countries. And I have seen in country after country after country how this could be done. If we had taken a tenth of what has been spent dealing with famine in the Horn of Africa in the last decade to maximize the capacity of the countries next nearest the famine, then Africans would be taking care of the famine, and the aid would go to the African farmers in those countries, and we would be building the agricultural capacity of those countries. So I hope that there'll be a lot of interesting debate about how to build the infrastructure of long-term economic growth, beginning with agriculture, with the extension of AGOA.